Today we're going to learn how to make a grocery list printable, which is something that everybody can use, and this is a very easy tutorial to follow, but hopefully you can learn something new today. So anytime I get started on a printable, whether I'm making it for myself or I'm making it to sell on my Etsy shops, I always do a quick Google search, and that way you can see what is already out there and to get some ideas on how to make your printable more suitable for your needs or for your for the needs of the people, your customers and whatnot. So this is something that I did. Obviously, I pulled up a grocery list printable on Google, and there are so many different options, and it's really smart to just kind of pull a few up, look at them, see what they have to offer, see what you like about it, what you don't like. Obviously, we're never going to copy someone else's work. We're just going to see what kind of options are out there so we could make ours better for ourselves. So and I'll explain this to give you an idea. If you look here, I'm just going to pull up a few of them. A lot of these grocery lists are separated into different sections of the grocery store. But for me, if I was making this just for myself, this would not be helpful to me. Mainly because I really only shop at one store. I do not go to a bunch of different stores as some people do, or the store I have really doesn't have it separated quite like this. So this would not be helpful to me. And to be honest with you, it would kind of frustrate me, because what if something I add here isn't actually in the fruit and vegetable section? So it would just be more irritating to me. I would just want one full list. So this would not work for me. It might work great for other people. Obviously, this is a very familiar, very commonly used layout. So obviously, you can see people really like it separate like this. But if I was making it for myself, it would not be helpful to me. I want something more like this, to be honest. Another thing that I would do possibly is, instead of having this separated into sections of the grocery store, I might do a section for each store. So if your grocery day consists of maybe 2 or 3 stores, because everything you need is in that one store, then you would probably want it separated. That is something that I would do. I might do one for Aldi's, which is where the majority of my shopping's done. But I do get a few odds and ends at the Dollar Tree. So that would be my list. It would be 2 different segments like that. That would be helpful to me. So that's something to keep in mind, as you know, I would go through and kind of look at all these different lists and see what would be a list that would be helpful to me. Also, you do find some ideas that you didn't think about. You're like, oh, well, that was actually a really brilliant idea. And some people are just really creative like that, and it just helps to get that motivation and inspiration. So we're going to start with a printable list, and we're going to base it basically off what I would do. And obviously, you're going to tweak this according to your own needs. So you're going to pull up your PowerPoint. And for those of you who are new to PowerPoint or not as familiar, I will try to go slow for you and kind of walk you through. So you're going to start right away on a blank presentation, and we're going to resize this because this is not the size of a printer paper. So I'm just going to clear this out. And I start right away with my design tab, go over to slide size, custom slide size, and then I manually enter in my dimensions. And we're going to make this portrait, and I always do ensure fit. So now this is the size of the paper that I would use, and you can jump right in and get started. I would probably start off right away with just naming this. So we're going to go with grocery. You know what? Let me back up for you. I do go very fast on these, and sometimes people don't know where I got what I needed, what they need. So these are my quick tabs. So my text box is right here. I use it for almost every printable, but you probably won't have it set up like this. So if you want a text box, you're going to go to your insert tab, slide on over to text box and select it there. And then you see your cursor has changed. You left click, drag it. It doesn't matter what size you want it to be. We can readjust it and just let it go. Okay, sorry, I try to explain that a little bit for those of you who are not familiar with PowerPoint. So I'm going to start with grocery, and I'll explain why I'm not going to write list on here. and I always center my text. I don't know, I like it centered and starting off. So I will probably jump right in and find a text that I want to go with. So I might I'll just throw this on here, and I'm going to make it bigger. So you're just going to jump up your font size here. We're just going to start with this, and then I always add a secondary text box, and I like to do 2 different fonts here. That's why I don't do it all together. You don't have to do it that way. Obviously, it is completely your decision what you want to do. So we're just going to go with a font that I use a lot. So when you are making a printable to sell, it is always a good idea. Let me change this font. I don't like it. It is always a good idea to use 2 different fonts, or 3 at the most. I wouldn't go more than that, but it just really kind of breaks up the image, and I just think it looks a lot better. Again, if you're more of a streamlined kind of person, it probably absolutely bothers you that there's 2 different kinds of fonts. But for those of you who don't mind, this is something to consider. So we can play around with this later, obviously. So I normally just kind of group that and then center it on my page. And we can play this later. So right now it's not that big of a deal. Okay, so we want to get started right away on our list. I'm going to do 2 columns of lists. I am going to make a column that is what I need, and then I'm going to just, let me show you. This might be a little easier to just show you. So you start with your text box. When you have a text box on your page, it automatically opens up a bunch of different options for you. So you're going to go over here to this little section here, and you have lots of little things to choose from. We want to make this a checklist. So when I go and put something on my grocery list, especially if it's a printable, I want to be able to check it off. You can just cross it out, obviously, but it's kind of nice to just have something that you can just check off. So you have you have a bunch of different options. I like this one. So it automatically gets started for you. You can go ahead and type in, if you want to keep this digital, you can obviously type in some of the things you normally would get at a grocery run, but I like to leave these blank. So you're just going to, what I'm doing here is I'm holding the shift button down and then the underscore button, and I'm just kind of dragging it across. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a little bit of space and then do it again. And let's see, I'm going to pull this out just a little bit. Okay, and the reason for this, I think this is just a little long. The reason for this is I want to have a spot to write what I'm going to buy, and then I want a spot for the quantity. And I feel like when I was looking at the different list options, that was something that was lacking, was a spot for quantity. And I usually always do that in parentheses on my list. So here I'm just going to make a spot for it. So what you can do is just push the enter button and do it again. And so kind of what I do, just to give you a heads up, is when I'm making something like this, I'll do a few of them, usually 5, and just kind of eyeball it, not being specific here. And then once I have about 5 of these, then I just make that its own little section, and then I copy. So I'll show you. So you select the text box, and then you hold the control button, push the C button, and that copies whatever you're selecting, and then the V button duplicates it. So now I just saved myself some time, and I'm just going to line this up. I'm going to eyeball it again, nothing fancy here, and I'm going to do that again. And I think we have room to do one more. Okay, so now that this is pretty much lined up, and you can see the little red things were helping you kind of line that up. Now that I have this pretty much done, I'm going to select all 4 of these, and I'm going to group them together. So that way it's easy to kind of move around and shift it. Now that I have this column done, I'm going to copy and paste this whole column. And now, and that allows me to have my two different columns here. Now, I can, as I said earlier, I can have this for one store and this for another, but for the sake of the fact that this is going to be something I'm going to sell on my Etsy shop, I am probably going to just leave it here and let whoever buys it decide, obviously, what they're going to use this for. So you have a couple options here. You can make a shape here. And again, I pulled this from my quick tabs, but you just go to Insert and then slide on over to Shapes and select what shape you want. So now that I have my shape selected here, I'm going to change this up just a little bit. I'm going to go into my shape fill and just change the color. It's blue. I'm going to change it to white. There is an outline color that is selected. It's automatically a blue, but I will be changing all of those colors here in a few minutes, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. What I want to show you that you can do here for an option is to just kind of title what this is. So you can put, you know, something here, use your text box. You can do item, and then you're going to do another text box that says quantity. Because this is a very small little section, I'm just going to abbreviate that a little bit. Okay, so just to kind of give the, you know, yourself or your customer an idea of what to add here, just give them a little bit of direction. You can do this, and then you can make this obviously, you know, more custom to what you have going on here. So obviously I would use, I would probably stick with the regular font here that's not cursive, but you want it to flow, so you want to use one of the fonts that you've used. So I'm going to make that more there. Okay, and then I'm going to make this bigger, kind of fill in your little spot here, just showing you, let's make that, just showing you what is possible here. What are some options for you? I don't remember what I used, 36? All right, let's go to 36. I don't think that looks right, so I'm just going to bring that down. You don't always have to have the exact same font size as something else in here. That's totally fine. But just to kind of give you an idea of what you can do, and then obviously we're going to copy this over here. But once I get this colorized to where I want it to go, then I will copy and paste it and add it over here. So one more thing that I would probably add that would be helpful to me is a section down here for notes. You know, sometimes I want a reminder of what I'm making for that week. So that way if they're out of a certain item, I can kind of figure out what I want to replace it with. So this is something that I would add down here, and then, you know, you can do text box that says notes, and I center this, and then I would probably make this my Alex Brush font here. So this is just options. These are just some suggestions that you can use. Okay, and this is pretty much good to go. I would make these outlines black if I wanted to keep this as a ink saver printable. This is something that I would just, you know, obviously use just black font. So I would change the outlines of this to black and just keep it all cohesive. However, I like to always add some color to mine. So what I'm going to do is show you a little, just some ideas of what you can do. I buy my clip arts either from Etsy or Creative Fabrica, and I will have a link in my description so you can see what what Creative Fabrica is. Most of you know what Etsy is. I love Creative Fabrica. I buy most of my fonts from there now. So this is a font set that I got from Creative Fabrica, and I would pull just a couple different things from here and just kind of add these into the corner just to kind of give it a little, let's see here. I'm not going to make this super fancy, but just to kind of give you an idea of some really pretty things you can do and just make them a little fancier. And it's okay, obviously you're going to be going over your designs here, and that's totally fine, because this is something that you're just making for your own designs, or and if you go over a little bit too much into the list, it's not going to be the end of the world. It's just something pretty. Okay, so I would add something like this into the corner. I might add a few more up here, but just to kind of give you an idea, now that I have some color in here, I would definitely change this into something more pretty. So I would select, an easy way to do that is to select your box, and then this is considered a font. Even though these really aren't fonts, this is considered a font. So if you want to change the color, you have to go to your font colors, okay? And then I use my eyedropper tool, and I'll pull something from here. And as you can see, I made it all green, and I think that looks really so much better. So this is something that I would definitely do green, and then maybe something up here. I might change something a little more appealing, like the green, or the yellow, and then maybe pull some of the orange. Again, this is 100% something that you find attractive to you. Now that I have my colors selected, I'm going to change the shape outline. I don't like it looking super thin. So you just go up to your shape outline, you're going to go down to your weight, and then they have lots of different options. I don't want it too thick, so I'm just going to go 3-point, and I'm going to change the color as well. And I'm going to go to eyedropper, probably, well, you know what, I already have colors selected. I want to stick with just a few colors. So I'd probably go with this one, and then, I guess things going to know me. Okay. I just messed that up, so let's fix that. There we go. Okay, so then I want to change the color of these fonts as well. So I would probably go with something that's a little easier to see, to read. You know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to change this color for my outline. There we go. And then I would select this font, and this shape, okay? So I have all three of these items. I go up to group, and then I'm going to copy and paste them and drag them over here. So that way they are, they look exactly like my other page, or my other column, okay? And I'm going to do the same thing for my notes. I'm going to change the outline. I'm going to make the weight a little heavier, and then I'm going to change the font to what I have there. Okay, so this is something, if you don't like, obviously this is green, there's just so many different options you can do. Play around with whatever you think stands out better, whatever you like going on here. It's totally, the sky's the limit. But it was a very easy tutorial. I hope that you learned something that you can take and make your own. I hope that is something that you can use maybe if you decide to do this on more of a financial business level. But have fun with it and make it your own. And I will see you in the next video.